Hey folks, welcome to the special edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Today's show focuses on John Legend. He, of course, is a great singer, but also he's an entertainer, a philanthropist. He produces shows on Broadway, on television, you name it. He also is an EGOT, meaning he has won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, as well as a Tony Award, one of only 13 people ever to do so. We had a conversation in Los Angeles, and I thought it was great for us to be able to showcase this discussion for you to check it out as we, of course, get ready for Thanksgiving. And so here's my chat with the great John Legend. All right, John. So I'm watching the Golden Globes. I see you on stage.
Yeah.
I'm watching the SAG Awards. I see you in the audience. We almost a year ago, you win the Academy Award. So we're doing this special on Black excellence in Hollywood, and somebody said, "Why y'all talking about John Legend?" I said, "Cause he's spending more time on movies and television than he is on music."
Well, I'd actually, excuse me, I'd actually argue I'm spending more time on music, but we've been getting a lot of recognition for the work we're doing on film and television, and we're proud of that.
Well, it's interesting because, again, when we look at, we're going to cover all these different things. Mm-hmm. So last year, I go to New York. Joe Morton does his off-Broadway production about Dick Gregory.
Yes,
so I go there. So I'm like, okay, I see John Legend's name. Mm-hmm. So then I'm sitting here doing a interview of The House We Live In with Danny Glover. John Legend. Yeah. And again, so you made a concerted effort to go beyond music. Yeah. But to really, then of course, Underground as well on WGN.
We have Underground. We have other movies in store. We're executive producers on La La Land, and I'm obviously in the cast of La La Land. So we have a few other things our production company, Get Lifted Film Company, is doing. And we're excited. We love telling interesting stories, working with great writers and directors, and trying to get more interesting stories out there.
And there are a lot of folks who've been in music
Mm-hmm.
who want to be in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing a whole lot of stuff behind the camera. Where did that originate from?
Well, it started with one of my production partners, a guy named Mike Jackson. He was already working in TV and film, and we had been friends for a long time. And he told me that he felt like I had a lot of influence in Hollywood, particularly because I was writing songs for film and television and making a lot of relationships with people who were making films. But he felt like we could join forces and create some great content. And you know, I didn't think of it as a goal of mine to do that beforehand. I just wanted to be a great musician and focus on that, and I still really do focus on that most of the time. But when this opportunity came around and we started seeing that we were able to get some great films and great TV series put together and work with some great talented people, then we decided to really focus on that a bit, and we made some really awesome things we're proud of.
Well, and the thing I think is important when you talk about this, the ability to utilize your platform and to realize that there are tremendous amounts of stories that no one else is focusing on. And now, of course, with streaming services and, of course, with cable television, of course, the big screen, I mean, at the end of the day, that's a whole lot of pipes to fill with content.
They have, there's so many channels now. WG in America is where our show Underground is. But, you know, shows are being put out on Netflix and Hulu and all these other services, and they need content. And I think that's why television and the related streaming services have been such a kind of bonanza of really interesting content lately, is because there's so many opportunities for creative people to make interesting series and interesting projects that it's been really a boon for that area of creativity, and we've really dove in on that area and had some success.
Let's talk about. I mentioned earlier Joe Morton playing Dick Gregory off Broadway,
which we're moving to Broadway soon.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's happening.
All right then.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, first of all,
and we also just premiered Jitney, which is August Wilson's final play that had not reached Broadway, and that's on Broadway right now.
And of course, Mr. Santiago gave me a call about that.
Ruben. Yes.
Ruben said, he said, "Man, I'm making this happen, and we just need your support." I said, "All right, just hit me up."
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about the Joe Morgan piece? So Joe hit me up and he said, "Hey, I want you to come to opening night," and it was crazy schedule. And then, of course, I'm busy. Then he goes, "Dude, we're ending on Saturday.
Yeah.
You got to come down." And so I said, fine. So I drove down, and that happened to also be the night Kerry Washington and her husband were there. And so we had a great time there checking him out. And he was just unbelievable.
He's incredible as Dick Gregory. And, you know, we want to give other people an opportunity to see it on a bigger stage. So hopefully we'll get it to Broadway very soon.
When we talk about hits, when Underground got announced, folks were going, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you got all these folks sitting here saying we've had way too many slave movies, as if we've seen a plethora of movies about that particular issue. But the response to Underground was tremendous.
Yeah, and I think the reason why it wasn't just a slave show, it wasn't just about kind of wallowing in the suffering of slavery, even though we have to tell that story too. And it's important that we know what a terrible institution slavery was, and that we don't let America forget what happened to our ancestors. It is important that we tell that part of it, but we wanted this show to not just be about that, but to be about the revolution, about the escape, about fighting for abolition, about America's first integrated civil rights movement, the abolitionist movement, and the Underground Railroad. And we believe that story would be something that would be inspiring for people. The courage of the folks that resisted and rebelled would be inspiring for people, and I think it really has been, and that's why it's caught on so well.
One of the things that I think is interesting when you talk about projects, you have many people who love to say, no, we know what's best. How have you been able to ensure that your vision, the authenticity of the storytelling about the issues of the Black experience is maintained?
Well, it's all about talent. It's all about who you hire. You have to hire the right writers. You have to hire the right directors. You have to hire people that are telling the story in the way it should be told. And once you start with that, And then we as producers, I think it's more important for us to protect them, to fight for their vision, make sure it gets to the people in the way that is authentic and correct. And so a lot of what we do as producers is just empowering the creatives, empowering the writers, empowering the directors, empowering the actors to tell the story in an authentic way, and then going out and fighting for them with the network, and then also selling it to the people.
When an idea comes your way, take me through that process in terms of, is it something that you're driving? Is it a question of others are bringing to the table and you go,
now
okay, I'll
that
look at.
now that we've had some success, a lot of people will send projects our way, and we have a staff and a team that reviews all of them. If it's a script, if it's a pitch, whatever it is, we'll review it, and then the things that are worth my time and worth my personal attention, they'll send to me, and I'll read it. And then if we're excited about it, we'll go for it. And sometimes projects are already sold to a network when we join. When we joined Underground, it was already sold to the network. But sometimes we have to go out and help sell it to the network to get it made, or sell it to a movie distribution company to get it made. And so, we get involved with that process as well. And then, of course, people want my input on the music, so I usually get involved with that a significant amount, whether I write a song, which I've done for Underground, but also help curate the music for the show throughout the season.
What is interesting to me, it isn't just the projects, but it's also the reaction from the audience, especially African Americans. I mean, I keep telling folks there's nothing like Black love when it comes to how folks feel. And then if they don't like it, there's nothing like Black heat.
and I think social media has been a way of amplifying all that and making the conversation very public. But it's the kinds of conversations that I think our folks have been having all along, but now it's kind of out there on social media. And I think it's really been a force for amplifying the shows when people are talking about it on Twitter, talking about it on Facebook, or wherever they're talking about it. It's been a way to really amplify the effect of the shows and then draw viewers. And you've seen that with Empire, you've seen it with our show Underground, you've seen it with all sorts of shows that have Scandal and all of all the Shonda shows. You've seen it with those shows where it's just it's viral. The conversation is viral and it's driven by us.
I want to share a message from one of our partners, folks. As we transition into the holiday season, this is the time when people are starting thinking about giving and also sharing. And sometimes the best gift is when you actually present an opportunity to yourself. Give yourself your own gift. That's why our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created an investment opportunity for the everyday investor involving legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, we all know that legal marijuana has created one of the fastest growing industries in the country, no pun intended. Also know that crowdfunding makes it easy to be an early investor of an opportunity, but it gets even better. What Transatlantic is doing is different, and that is their business model is essentially buying the land that supports marijuana grow operations and leasing it to licensed, high-paying tenants. Now, what that means is you will be a landlord of a licensed marijuana farm in a high-growth market. Now, they're accepting investments for little as $300 up to $10,000 before the company goes public. Now, here's what's important. You must complete and confirm your application to participate. Again, complete your application and confirm your application to participate. Now, you can spend all your holiday money on gifts, but what if you get a return on your investment? You could also could consider making an investment for somebody else, and that could be their gift. That's a hell of a holiday gift. Now, to get started, go to marijuanastock.org, marijuanastock.org, for you to get into the game. And so we certainly want you to do so. What, in terms of your own reaction, what has been that one wow moment for you with one of these television or movie projects you've been involved with, where even you said, okay, this is crazy. This is.
Well, I don't know about crazy, but I mean, I think the most special thing that happened in regards to any of the projects I've been involved with was probably the opportunity to sing "Glory" at the Oscars and celebrate Selma and celebrate the movement, and then have it get the kind of recognition that it got in that moment. I don't think I've had a more special moment in my career. Singing that song, having the emotion in the room, and then being able to accept the award and say what we said about the legacy of the movement today and how we need to carry that forward.
Let's go back to that because when I saw, first of all, you guys were cleaning up left and right. But when I saw the amount of time and energy that was put into the set, it's one of those things where you say, y'all know they're going to win.
And they did it right before they announced the award, too.
Precisely. So timing all matters. But speak to that emotion in the room, because as a viewer, we certainly were able to feel it through the television screen.
Yeah, well, when I look back at the tape, I saw the footage of people crying in the audience, and I didn't necessarily know that when it was happening. But when I walked down, I saw David Oyelowo still crying, and then I saw more footage of other people that were crying. And so it was clear that the moment was really emotional and had a lot of impact on people. And part of what drove it, I think, was the set and having that connection to the Pettus Bridge really helped drive it. And then also, one of the things that mattered was a mistake we had in rehearsal. In rehearsal, the music wasn't cued properly, and it cut off at the end. And we kept singing, and we were singing a cappella basically at the end. And I was like, wow, that actually sounded really cool. Let's do that a cappella section at the very end of the song.
Really?
And it just made it even more powerful and more special. And I think that
so that was a mistake.
That was a mistake in rehearsal that became an arrangement choice by the time we played it live before the show.
See, God has a way of ordaining these things.
You know, it was a perfect mistake.
When I listen to, first of all, I play the song all the time. And when I listen to the words of that song, and you looked at that year, 2016, presidential election, last year of Obama's presidency, and all of a sudden we now are in 17. The song, in essence, represented, I would say, a call to arms, if you will, for this generation. Every time I hear comments say, freedom is like religion to us. I mean, that even just that one line absolutely resonates. It's this notion of freedom.
Yeah, and we're still in a battle for that. You know, we are more free than we were when Dr. King marched on the bridge, but we haven't gotten to the place where everybody's free. My organization, Free America, particularly focuses on the issue of mass incarceration and how we treat people who make mistakes, who commit crimes, who get in trouble with the law. And but that's not the only issue where we should be concerned. We should be concerned about freedom of religion, freedom of the press. All of those things, I think, are in danger right now in the new Trump administration. And so those who believe in freedom, we can't rest.
What do you make of, when you speak of rest, the level of unrest? I mean, we've only been a few days into Trump's 4-year presidency.
I think
it's been stunning.
It's been stunning, but I think it's been heartening for me to see how many Americans are willing to put themselves on the line and speak out. It's been a broad, diverse coalition of people that are saying this man's values don't represent what we think American values should be, and we're going to go out in the streets and say something about it.
And then what's also, I think, interesting, it's not just the passion, but also I believe that a lot of people are lackadaisical, assume everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this election happens. Yeah. Then it becomes, oh my God, he won. Then it's, oh, you know what? I might need to get off my butt. Yeah. And not just let the folks over there do it. I'm going to have to make my feelings be known.
Yeah, and I think people didn't take him seriously and think he would do the things that he said he was going to do. I took him very seriously, and I spoke out against him repeatedly and often. And then you heard some people saying, you know, well, Hillary's just as bad. She lies too. And I just was amazed at the false equivalence that people would try to draw between the normal amount of, kind of obfuscation and lying that politicians do, which is not good, but, there's certain things that are more normal than others. And then the amount of ridiculous statements that came out of his mouth, amount of lies that came out of his mouth, amount of bigotry that came out of his mouth, all these things were egregious. And we should have known it from the campaign. But some people, I think, are genuinely surprised that, oh, he's doing what he said he was going to do. Oh, he said he was going to do a Muslim ban. Oh, he's doing a Muslim ban. He said he was going to build a wall. He's going to try to build a wall. He's not probably going to get Mexico to pay for it, but it's going to go up, even though it's a stupid idea. It's not even going to help anybody. It's not going to make us more secure. He's going to do it. He said he was going to do it, and he's going to do it. And so now that we're kind of shell-shocked and seeing this actually happen, I think the proper response is what people are doing, is getting out in the streets and protesting. But the next response has to be political action, which means working on the state, local, and national level to get politicians that will oppose what the president is doing right now. Working on our current Congress people, calling them and telling them we're watching them and we support them if they're doing the right thing, and we speak out against them if they're not. And we have to be engaged beyond what's happening in the street. But I think what's happening in the street is a good beginning to what we need to do.
See, I think that piece is what's critical. I often remind people what Dr. King often said, that look, the march was one thing. It's what you do after the march. And I think a lot of times people get so excited about the event.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, we got together and it was
and it's important.
People, it was a signs.
It's important.
But like with the Women's March, what I appreciated what they did was the data collection. That is, look, we're going to need you testifying before hearings.
Absolutely.
On a local, state, national level. We're going to need you when it comes to fundraising, not just coming out for this one day.
Democracy is participatory. Democracy is driven by the people. Our government is paid by us, elected by us, and they are accountable to us. And so we, the people, have to go out there and make sure that we're doing all the things to hold them accountable and then elect the right people in office.
How do you respond to the folks who say, John, dude, shut up, just sing?
Of course, I get that all the time. And then I tell them I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer. These politicians work for me just like they work for you, just like they work for Joe Citizen in the street.
But it kills me when people act as if you're not a taxpayer, you're not a citizen, as if, oh, no. I mean, it's literally just shut up and sing.
Well,
we don't want to hear what you have to say.
They want to hear it if I agree with them. They're happy to hear my opinions if I agree with them, but if I don't, then all of a sudden I'm just a Hollywood elite spewing nonsense.
Now, let me deal with that, because you just said Hollywood elite. You're from Ohio.
I'm from Springfield, Ohio. My father was a factory worker. My mother was a housewife. We grew up knowing what it's like to need a manufacturing job, knowing what it's like to struggle from week to week to do what you need to do for your family. And so me fulfilling my dreams as a musician, as a producer, and all the other things that I'm doing, I do not forget what it's like to be the son of Ronald and Phyllis Stevens in Springfield, Ohio.
See, the reason I think that's important is because, I can still smell the stench of my dad's work boots, jeans, and hard hat. Worked for Amtrak. Mom, insurance claims, sat in the office 8 hours a day. Both of them never made a combined $50,000 a year. Had 5 kids. Yet, during this election and really after, when all I kept hearing was working class, they were really saying white working class.
You were talking about the white working class.
I said, wait a minute. That's my experience. Mom and dad never went to college. And so it was bothersome to me. It was as if black working class folks didn't exist. And then because of what I have been able to do because of them, it's, oh, no, you can't speak to this issue. And I'm going, no, that's my life too.
And Hillary actually won people that made under $50,000 a year. The whole idea of her losing the working class was simply referring to the white working class. But if you put the entire working class together, she won. And I think a lot of times, for some reason, Even in previous elections, hardworking Americans was referring to white working class.
Real America.
Real America is towns with no black folks in it. When real America is diverse, it looks more like our cities than it looks like our rural towns. That's real America, if you look at the numbers. But often, real America means white. Real America means conservative. Real America means gun-toting to a lot of people. But we know that real America is a much more diverse place than that.
So how do we somehow connect these worlds? Because what I've consistently said is that what's driving all of this is white fear. The way I've explained it, I keep telling people, I don't get caught up in they're racist and they're bigoted. I don't get caught up in that, because then the debate then becomes the racist and bigoted as opposed to what the issue is. What I think is happening here is that we're dealing with white fear, that America is changing. All of a sudden, we're seeing what's happening. All these folks with Black Lives Matter, they're out there without realizing that they're out there actually fighting for rights that also impact you. When they see young folks, when they see women, it's the exact same thing. It is fear of a changing America.
Yeah,
and Trump was pushing that, was touching that by saying, Giuliani even said, Trump is our last hope.
Yeah.
You're going, wait a minute, what do you mean last hope?
Yeah, there was this fear that white men were losing their control of the country. And that fear, I think, drove Trump. It drove a lot of the conservative movement, the Tea Party movement. Every time we've seen advances in American history, we've seen some of that backlash before. We saw it after the Civil War. We saw it after the Civil Rights Movement. We saw it...
Black success always followed by white backlash.
Yes. We saw it now with the election of the first black president. So we've seen this backlash. The good news is that over time, progress has always won. But that doesn't mean there won't be a cost to this backlash. And this backlash may cost lives. It may cost some people justice and peace. And we should be worried about that. But I do believe that progress is going to win.
How do we bring these various worlds together to make folks realize you don't have to be fearful, but understand that you're the same economic condition as that brother or sister who's in an inner city?
Yeah.
I keep saying broke is broke.
Yes, and if we could come together in a real alliance of the working class that says we want good working conditions for all of our workers, we want well-paying manufacturing and construction and other jobs that have been kind of depleted in the last 20 years. If we come together and say we want a strong social safety net, make sure everyone has access to health care, make sure everybody has whatever they need to feed their family and live a decent life, better schools for everybody. Nobody has to lose in that. No race has to lose. It doesn't need to be you get it and we don't, or we get it and you don't. We can all get this together. We can all win together. It doesn't need to be zero sum. And, I think Dr. King was trying to do that at the end of his life, was bring poor folks together, working folks together. And that's kind of the dream, is that we can all come together and say we want a better life, a better country for all of us, regardless of the color of our skin, and come together and fight for that. But politicians have been successful at dividing us and saying and creating fear among us, saying that if this guy wins, you can't win too. And that's not really how it works. All of us can do well together.
You mentioned Free America, your effort when it comes to mass incarceration. When we look at what's happening in this country, jails are driving a lot of local economies. When you look at police departments being able to grab folks' property, where you have libertarians who are aligning with liberals on this as well. On the issue of mass incarceration, you've got the Koch brothers who are sounding the alarm on the same issue as traditional civil rights groups. This is an unsustainable effort in this country, yet it's hard to get people to let go of the law and order, lock them up, throw the key away.
And I'm afraid the pendulum has swung back to the law and order supposedly law and order crew. And I think Trump's entire message has been one of authoritarianism and fear mongering, and you see it with crime as well. He'll give completely incorrect crime stats and say
straight lie.
Yeah, just lie. Completely false statements about the crime in certain cities, and his motive is to sow fear among people so that he can have more control, he can have more power, and he can have the right to take people's rights away. So we should be concerned about that, and we should fight against it. Luckily, for us right now, states and local governments actually drive much more of the incarceration issue than the president or even the National Congress do. So we can still put pressure on our state representatives, our governors, to do the right thing when it comes to criminal justice reform without the influence of the presidency on what they do. And so we have to be paying attention to our district attorney elections. We have to be paying attention to our sheriff and local police elections. We have to pay attention to our mayoral elections and our gubernatorial elections and our state representatives, because they control so much of what happens when it comes to criminal justice policy. And the vast majority of people who are incarcerated are in state prisons and local and county jails.
But it's also getting people to understand that there have been successes.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with folks and they go, man, none of this stuff has mattered. And I'm going, wait a minute. Yeah. You have a socially conscious DA just elected in Harris County, where I'm from in Houston, which has for a long time led the country in the most people sentenced to death.
Yeah.
You saw Tim McGinty in Cuyahoga County in Cleveland thrown out. In Chicago, Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore. There are other places as well. And so
those things matter. Those things matter a lot, because people don't realize district attorneys have so much control over who goes to jail or not, so much control over how much to charge someone, because almost every criminal case is settled before it even goes to court. It's a deal.
Right. The DA approves the plea bargain.
Yeah, they approve the plea bargain. Most of these folks that get in trouble don't have great representation, and the DA has so much power in the palm of their hands, so that when we elect someone that's more holistic, more balanced in their view of justice, more fair, more merciful, then they're really the person that's driving which way the incarceration rate goes. And so we have to pay attention to these things. And we have to decide as a society that it's more important for us to focus on preventing people from getting in trouble in the first place, giving them the things they need to live a whole and healthy life and get them a good start in life so they don't get in trouble. They don't need to get in trouble in the first place. And then when they do get in trouble, we need to make sure our justice system is smart and restorative and prepares them for life when they get out of prison.
John, how do you keep yourself focused on there is progress? Because here's what I think what happens a lot. Folks believe that we should be doing more, we should be much further, and folks get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I've heard this from a lot of Black Lives Matter activists. I've heard this from other people, and I'm constantly trying to explain to them, you have to celebrate every one of these successes, because that leads us on the road to improvement.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get caught up in the enormity of some of the problems that we face. But we need some perspective. We need to realize that when we have accomplishments, they're worth celebrating. And even looking at the overall arc of what's happened in the history of this country, clearly progress has been made, and it's been pretty monumental progress over the centuries. And so we shouldn't forget about that. We shouldn't lose heart. That doesn't mean you don't work hard. That doesn't mean you're not passionate. It doesn't mean you're not engaged. It doesn't mean you're complacent. But it does mean you see the value in working. You see the value in struggling, because you're actually getting some wins. And so when we accomplish things on like a state level, we get a district attorney, elected that we think will be the right person for the job. When we get some propositions passed, like we do here in California, to make our criminal justice laws more sane and more reasonable, when things like that happen, we should be happy and we should celebrate and know that there is a reward to the work that we're putting in.
The road forward. Earlier you talked about. Well, look, it's 4 years of Trump, and people are protesting and they're pushing. I really believe that when you talk about an awakening, when you talk about, we saw it with Tea Party under Obama. We saw these people who were disaffected, who were out of this particular process. We saw it, frankly, the number of white working class folks in rural America who came out in huge numbers for Donald Trump. I really believe that what we are about to see is not going to be a 2 to 4 year issue. I keep saying we're about to see what I call a 30-year battle, because by 2044, the numbers show no one group will be a majority race in the country. And I just think, and I keep telling people, prepare for a sustained generational battle, because this is literally going to be a fight for the heart and soul of the future of America.
And it's not a battle between people of color and white people. It's a battle between those who believe America should be inclusive and diverse and equal for all, and those who don't. Who
want to go back to the old days of how things used to be. Which were not good for us.
And the truth is, our side is going to win, because there's more of us. Even in this election, there were more of us. Trump won because of the vagaries of the Electoral College, but that's not sustainable, I don't believe. With a small smidgen of percentage of voters going Hillary's way in 3 states, she would have been the president and had a 3 million vote lead in the popular vote. So I think we should realize that we're on the right side of history, and that our side will win, but we have to fight and we have to be out there doing the work.
Let's talk some fun stuff. Let's talk music. So we talked about Hollywood, we talked about politics, all that sort of stuff. Let's talk about music. What does it do for you to sit at that piano and just allow things to happen?
Well, really what's happening when I'm doing that is I'm writing a song, and I'm trying to create something new out of nowhere. And it's a beautiful feeling when it comes together. And the process of getting there is really fun for me. I still love it more than anything else I do. Writing a song is my favorite thing to do. So the joy of seeing my last album, Darkness and Light, come together, seeing the writing process lead to some songs that were really heartfelt and mean a lot to me. It was a really wonderful process. I sang about being a new father. I sang about relationships. I sang about how I want to see this world evolve. It was beautiful to have that process of writing, and then to see it all come together in an album that I'm really proud of.
For me, what I love is the process, because I think about, as somebody who is in media, I've written columns for years, and it's sort of the exact same thing, where something will spark you, and you might be in big conversation, and literally you just sort of drift away, because you're now focused on it. And so I asked every songwriter this, and so Will Downing told me. I remember I interviewed him once, and he said that he had made love to a woman, and he said it was so amazing that he got up and wrote a song. I was like, dude, you just left? And I've talked to so many different songwriters, and they just, different things move them to write and create. So for you, give me a couple examples where just something else was happening and you literally just sort of just drifted off into your own world.
Well, that happens a lot for me. I don't
Folks
usually,
like John.
I don't usually write the song at that moment, but I will record the whatever spark of inspiration that I have at that moment. So the great thing is now we have phones that record everything. You can write lyrics down on your phone. And so whenever an inspiration comes to me, it can come to me while we're at the airport. It can come to me when we're sitting around the house. I record it as soon as it comes to me. And I don't usually kind of stick with it for a long time at that moment. I just save it and focus on it when it's time to write again. And for me, the actual writing of the song, aside from that inspiration, usually happens in a very kind of scheduled, programmed way. I'm different than some other songwriters. I like to schedule songwriting. I like to book a studio, go to the studio, and feel like I'm going to work. And if I do that, I'm more prolific, I'm more productive, and I'm more focused on writing. And it helps you get through writer's block too, because it kind of pushes you to not just wait around for some idea, but just to actively conjure it.
But have you ever had that moment though where you literally were engaged in a conversation,
Yeah.
or you were doing something,
Yeah.
and literally you just drifted away, and folks
Yeah.
going, "Hey,
Yeah.
dude, what happened?"
Absolutely. And then I'm like, excuse me, I had the idea, and then I'll go sing into my phone, and then we'll move on with our conversation.
Now I do the same thing. So my wife will be talking, and literally when a vision or a thought, and I'll just go, "Hold up." First of all, she hates that. She absolutely, Jackie despises me going, "Hold up." But literally for me, I'll stop something, because when that idea is there, my mind is just going.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else coming in.
Yeah, because it's easy to forget too.
And now you're really upset.
Yeah, because you gotta remember those things, and it might not come to you again in that way. So it's great to record it, write it down.
It's interesting when you talk about that, how you approach it. So when I talked to Common, how Glory came together, and he said, "Yo, John had one day to go." He said, "What, you were in London?"
I was in London on tour, and he calls me up and says, "Ava and I are, trying to come up with a song for the end of this movie. I don't know if you heard, I'm doing Selma with Ava DuVernay, and I had heard about the film. I knew it was being made, and I knew he was a part of it. And he told me, a few title ideas. And one of them was Glory. And I was like, that's the one I want. That's the one I'm going to write. As soon as I got off the phone with him, I literally came up with the chorus for Glory almost exactly to what it is now. Right after I got off the phone with him, sang it in my phone, and sent it. Then I went to the studio and recorded it like a day later, and sent it to Common, and he and Ava really loved it, and he wrote verses for it.
And he said the moment he heard you say one day, when the morning comes, he said that was it. And then on his side, it just took off.
Yeah. And we wrote something really special and meaningful, and it came together really quickly. And I'm just glad he asked me to do it with him. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah, because you picked up a few statues along the way by doing that.
It was good.
Isn't it also a testament to answer the phone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could have said, dude, I'm really busy.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to answering the phone and responding when you get a call that's important. And it's a testament to also our friendship, because we've been writing together and performing together for a long time and have a lot of respect for each other. And so whenever he calls me, I'm willing to do something with him and collaborate with him.
Oh, yeah, he called you now. You're like, oh, there might be another Oscar. This phone call.
Yeah, so, I think it's been a mutually beneficial friendship and working partnership for us.
When we think of music, it's so funny. I tweeted something. I have no idea. First of all, everybody knows who on social media. I love music.
Absolutely.
About 9.
I like when you tweet out your playlist and everything.
About 9,000 songs. And so I guess I was listening to Sam Cooke or Otis Redding. I forgot what it was, and I tweeted about. I said these cats were singers.
Yes.
I said you felt it. It was just, and the songs were different. And I think I said something like, they don't make music like that anymore. And then you hit me, you said, now Roland, Some of us are still trying to do it.
Some of us are still.
And you
real
said,
singers.
I ain't saying I'm cooked, and you weren't trying to sit here, you know, and
Yes.
it wasn't a dig, but your point was that look, there's still a few of us out here who have that old school type.
Yeah, and we
attitude.
still, I think there are a few of us out here that still care about the craft of being a singer. You know, in this era of so much auto-tune and so much kind of computer processing and a lot of lip syncing as well in live performances, there's still a few of us that care about actually being good singers that can sing live without all the tricks and accoutrements, going out there and really singing. And I'm one of those people, and I always will be. And if you come to my show, that's what you're going to get.
So if John Legend puts together John Legend and Friends, and it has to be people who can simply sing, period. It's not, right, let's just say what happened after the rehearsal with Glory, the Academy Awards. Who are the 4 people who are with John Legend and Friends who can just flat out sing?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Well, I say Jill Scott is one of them.
Okay.
She can flat out sing, and she's got a distinctive style and wonderful range, and she's an artist with her voice as a vocalist. She's one of my favorites. Man. This is tough. Lettucey.
Oh, yeah.
Can flat out sing.
That girl can flat out sing.
Man, this is hard. I'm going to leave somebody out.
2 more. No. Remember, I only said 4. If I said 10, so if anybody getting mad, you say, look, he only said 4.
No, because I'm going to probably leave some people out that I really do like. I just can't think of it all on the top of my head. Let me think. Oh, man, I'm going to leave somebody out. Well, this is a little obvious.
Well, just rattle them off, and then
here's some of the better singers. I think Beyonce is incredible. She's one of the great vocalists out there. I think, trying to think of some brothers I want to throw on the list. I really like Bilal. I think he's a brilliant singer.
Dude, he killed it
yes.
with the Prince tribute.
Yeah, I think he's incredible.
A whole bunch of people went.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah. And he's been around for a long time. I was in Philadelphia going to school there when he was coming up in that whole kind of neo-soul movement. And I was always just thoroughly impressed by his voice and his artistry as a vocalist. Man, I'm leaving people out. I love Jasmine Sullivan. I love Fantasia. All great singers. Kelly Clarkson, who I worked with on duets, is a magnificent singer, really great voice with a great range. I think Adele is a great singer. I don't know, man. I'm probably leaving some people out, but those are the people off the top of my head.
Right.
Kim Burrell, you know, there's some great singers out there.
Now she can blow.
Yeah.
She can blow. So now
Yolanda sang Glory at the White House and murdered it.
and were you sitting there going, really? She just did?
I was proud because as a songwriter, I love seeing other people sing my songs, and I love seeing her sing it. She sounded so beautiful.
So I'm gonna make this a little bit harder now. Okay. I need John Legend to name me 4 legends he would love to be on stage with, living or deceased.
Oh, well, I love Nina Simone. I would have loved to do a duet with her. I think our voices would have went well together. And we named our daughter Luna Simone in a nod to her as well.
All right.
So that's definitely one of them. I would have loved to sing with Nat King Cole. My dad used to listen to him all the time. And a lot of my phrasing, even though I don't really sing the type of music he sang, I still use some of his phrasing style in the way that I sing. And who else? Marvin Gaye, one of my heroes. and I would say Curtis Mayfield. Yeah, just because
An unbelievable songwriter.
unbelievable songwriter and arranger. I would love to just be up, have my voice surrounded by his arrangements. It'd be a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So I rarely do this. I know I have a very I have a standard rule for me. I believe a person's personal stuff is personal. So if you have a baby or you get married or you get divorced, it will not be on my show. No, because I focus on news.
Yeah.
But you brought up your daughter several times. So I want to talk about fatherhood. I want to talk about fatherhood. I want to talk about marriage. I've never had biological children, but I've raised 6 of my nieces.
Yes.
And I tell people, when you have had to do that, you are somebody's father. And so, how has fatherhood altered who you are and what you do?
Well, it makes you think more about your priorities and reshifts, I think, some of your priorities, because, you know, you realize you have a life you're responsible for. And, you know, I already was very focused on my marriage and making sure our relationship was healthy. And that requires a certain amount of time and energy. But beyond that, us being parents is really important to us. And being good parents and being present parents is really important to us. And so I try to work less. I try to only do things when it comes to work that I think are really important. And I'm in a position now in my career where I'm able to say no to certain things that I might have had to say yes to before.
And that work less thing is hard because, man, I've texted you before, and I swear, I'm like, dude, are you always on tour?
I'm on the road a lot. Yeah, I haven't been on the road since we had Luna, but she's going to go on the road with us on this upcoming tour.
But before her, I mean, you were forever. I swear, every time I'm like, John, okay, dude, when are you going to be in the States? I mean, you was
well, that's gonna
here, that's London, here. I mean,
that's still going to happen. But we're going to hopefully bring Luna with us as much as possible, depending on how much Chrissy has to work here in the States as well. So we're going to, as much as possible, be together as a family. But we got to tour. We got to get out there and play the songs for the people. And so we'll make it work out.
Has she also impacted, which we mentioned earlier, what you write about, and then also things that she does, and you go, okay, I'm gonna work that in somewhere?
Well, I think it gives you a different perspective, and I think in some ways it's kind of humbling. In this last album, Darkness and Light, that I just put out, I talk about some of the questions that parents have. You know, I wrote a song called "Right by You," and when we wrote the song, we didn't want to say all these declarative statements. We wanted it to be mostly questions, mostly wondering what she's going to be like, whose traits is she going to take on, how will she move in the world, what will her impact in the world be? Those are the kind of questions that we asked in the song. And I think the fact that we use questions and not answers, questions and not declarative statements, was reflective of the fact that it's a humbling experience to be a new parent. We haven't done this before. It's an awesome responsibility, and we're learning as we go. And that's certainly been a part of my songwriting. And I think it also made me more reflective in general about life, about death, and about legacy, and about what it means to do something important in the world, and will it survive your actual living and breathing on earth? Will your life have meant something?
Your wife is cray cray. Love her to death.
Yes.
Love her to death.
She's a wild one sometimes.
Wild one. And Lord, her in social media.
Yes.
Even times when you go, girl, you lost your mind. I mean, because I say it.
I'm her biggest fan on Twitter. Every once in a while, she'll say something like, "You sure you want to say that?" Most of the time, she'll stop herself from saying the things that I'm like, "You sure you want to say that?" But occasionally, she'll say them, and she'll post them. But she's smart, and she's strong enough to take whatever backlash that comes her way. And I think people love her because she's so real. They love her because she's so honest. They love her because she'll clap back sometimes when people try to start some mess.
Yeah, she'll clap back.
When they start some mess with her. And, that's part of why I was so attracted to her in the first place, was because she is that kind of person. She's feisty, she's funny, she'll tell you like it is. And I think the combination of the two of us, me being more mellow, it kind of works well together.
Well, I crack up when y'all are going back and forth with love notes, and I'm going, don't y'all can text each other, and y'all it's sort of like
we try to entertain y'all. Can we entertain y'all?
Send a tweet or did I text that? I'm like, John, Chrissy, get her on.
You know, we have fun on social media, and I think that's why people really love Chrissy, is the authenticity. And it's funny because a lot of brands are scared of that. A lot of, you know, people that you might work with are scared of that, but other people are more attracted to her because of it. And I think that's why she's been able to craft her own identity as a celebrity, as a personality, is because her brand is authenticity. It's wit, it's funny, it's really enjoying herself and not taking herself too seriously.
So you talk about being Mr. Laidback,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody goes to your show, they listen to your music,
Mm-hmm.
and so my wife is a fan of Lip Sync Battle.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, I'm watching this and I'm going, that's John? Because getting wild and crazy, you never hear John Legend getting wild and crazy. And so because that's just not you.
Yeah.
It was sort of like that was an alter ego thing
Yeah,
where you
fun.
just went there.
I love it, and I think that's what people love about being on the show as guests. That's why a lot of other celebrities want to do it, because it gives a chance to play another character and to kind of embody another persona. And particularly doing the Andre 3000 song last time I was on the show, I had so much fun, man. I really enjoyed it, and I always loved Andre as an artist, and I knew his style and persona. It wasn't mine, but it was fun to embody it for a second.
So will we ever see a John Legend party album? I'm talking about.
Well, I've had party songs. I've had Green Light. I've had other songs that, you know, were up tempo. But everybody knows my sweet spot is kind of in that mid tempo and ballad area. And you know, and since I'm not much of a dancer to begin with, you know, I don't focus a lot on music that's dance oriented. I focus more on the stuff that's in my sweet spot. But you know, if you listen to my albums, there's always a range of moods and range of vibes on there. But the songs I'm most known for are the big songs that happen to be ballads, like Ordinary People and All of Me. But you know, I think if you come to my shows, you'll see the whole range. You'll see the up tempos, the mid tempos, the ballads, and we try to really create a fun experience for people when they come to the show.
See,
but it's romantic too. You know, it's usually date night for most people.
Precisely.
Yeah, and that's all good.
It's like when I interviewed Courtney B. Vance.
Yeah.
I said, Courtney, I want to see you in a crazy, outlandish comedic role.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and I said, because normally he's very, you know.
And you want to see people with diversity, but at the end of the day, people are best at certain things. And that's what they usually tend to focus on. And so, you know, I think it's important as someone who makes albums to have a range of emotions and feelings in the album. But I know what people love the most from me, and I kind of super serve them in that area.
So we talked about movies, we talked about music, we talked about family, politics. I got to get your take on this, a couple of more things.
Mm-hmm.
You made any number of trips to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on 8 years of an Obama presidency?
Well, I think in a lot of ways it was successful in that it extended health care to millions of more people that didn't have it. People forget that when President Obama came into office, the economy was cratering. We had just had a massive financial crisis, and the stock market was in terrible shape. People were getting kicked out of their homes. People were losing jobs at a terrible rate. And he turned all of that around between the Recovery Act and the financial reform and the auto rescue. All those things were hugely important, and the country would be in much worse shape if those things did not happen. And so I think we should be grateful for that work that the president and his team did, and the Congress that helped him make it happen. we should be grateful for all those things. Did he accomplish all the things we wanted to get accomplished? Absolutely not. And were there some areas where I disagreed with him? Absolutely. But I really think on balance, it will be seen as a successful presidency that really genuinely improved people's lives and improved the country.
So I want to pick up on that point right there, because there are a lot of people, a lot of black folks who get mad. Don't you dare say anything negative.
Sure.
But you, somebody who made a number of visits, who the president and first lady often referenced, but you made it clear there's a return on investment. There are things that we expect and are going to push you on.
Right. We pushed him on criminal justice reform, and he made some efforts in that direction, and with the commutation of sentences and all these things. But truthfully, we would have liked for him and the Congress to accomplish more on a federal level. We know most of it's done on the state and local level, but there were more things, I think, that the federal government could have done, and it just didn't happen. Part of it is because we didn't have a Congress that was willing to do it, but I thought we could have had clemency for more people than the president extended it to. Even though he did it in a record amount, we thought there could have been more.
Would John Legend ever run for office?
I don't think so. I think I'm most useful doing what I do now, and most happy doing what I do now. And I'm political. I'm very political, obviously, and get very involved. And I think doing it not as an elected official is probably the best way for me to do it.
And have they finally stopping you at the border in Canada? Because if you tweet that one more time, okay, so explain to people who are watching.
We got an immigration lawyer, and I think we have solved it. I had to do my fingerprints and all these other things to verify my identity, that I'm not the John Stevens that got in trouble somehow and has a record in the criminal justice system. It's not me. I've never.
So your actual name is John Stevens.
My real name is John Stevens. There's another person with my name that had a record, and whatever his record was, it was enough for it to get flagged at the Canadian border. No other border in the world, by the way, but the Canadian border.
Every time. I swear, you would tweet again.
They make me sit in the second room, and they review my passport, and they make me sit there for like an hour, and then finally they let me in. But apparently, we've gotten an immigration lawyer to finally figure it out and fix it for us. And I'm going to be on tour soon, and I'm going to Toronto again, and hopefully this time I'll get in.
Dude, every time you would tweet that, or you say, "I'm headed to Canada," I'm like, "Hey, y'all not stop."
Please, Lord. Please, Lord.
So, last question for you. So like I said, we talked about music, movies, public policy, you name it. Is there something that you would really love to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh man. Well, I think now that I've done a little bit of acting, I think I'm going to be interested in doing some more, and so we'll see about that. And we're in talks about some interesting biopic ideas in music. I don't want to talk about who it's going to be because we're a little too early in the process, but there's some cool stuff we're going to do.
Yes.
I'm not going to answer. There's going to be some cool stuff, hopefully, that we'll do with me in front of the camera, because my company's been producing a lot of projects, but most of them I haven't been on camera for, but we'll see. There'll probably be some more of that in the future.
All right. John, brother, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Folks, I certainly hope you enjoyed that discussion with John Legend. Please be sure to support shows like this by supporting Roland Martin Unfiltered by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Please go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is very simple, to get 20,000 of our fans contributing an average of $50 each over the next year. Your donations will make such interviews possible so we can remain independent, not corporately owned, and being unapologetically black. Folks, be sure to have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your family. And again, doesn't matter what kind of big meal you have. It doesn't matter if you can't make it back at home. Simply enjoy every single day, every single hour, minute, and second. Everybody at Roland Martin Unfiltered, have a good one. Holla!